And I thought I was going to get a CD with Tori Spelling and Brian Austin Green.
I don't know. I'm not
touching that.
I don't want to see that.
It's because I love Janet Jackson.
Just Dance is a Canadian song. In semi-slow-mo to Faith Hill's This Kiss pop remix.
What a story.
So literally, he's cheating on his girlfriend, and she keeps calling. He doesn't want to answer the phone.
Because he's got a little place nearby.
And he's got to go.
Bob Dylan.
That was
the
Men in
Backstreet
Songs.
Boys.
I'm not playing like Rocky Horror Glee when people come over.
Right.
Although, if people had respect, I would. It is just so true, Bestie.
iHeartRadio Canada presents Bestie Listen.
Welcome to Bestie Listen. It's Jordan Appugliesi.
And I'm Sean Ross.
And today we are talking about compilation albums.
Love a compilation album.
Love.
What was the first compilation album that you remember coming across?
My first compilation album, I remember going to the mall with my mom to buy the American Idol Season 1. I don't remember the subtitle, but it was like Fan Favorites or something like that they had recorded after, I think they rapped. So I remember buying that, and I remember having the Sabrina the Teenage Witch album in my house.
Same.
Like that yellow disc is like ingrained in my head. What are yours?
Well, do you remember Columbia House where you would put stamps on the thing and send it away and you would get CDs back?
No.
It was kind of like a pyramid scheme of sorts, I think. But
Are you still doing it?
I'm not doing it. I think it's defunct. But our family got into Columbia House and I got to pick an album, and I was a kid. I was so young. I had no idea what I was doing. And I saw 90210, the soundtrack. And I thought I was going to get a CD with Tori Spelling and Brian Austin Green singing the hits of the 90s. That's not what it was. I was in for a rude awakening when this soundtrack came full of songs I had never heard in my life. And that was my first introduction.
I'm trying to picture what Tori Spelling was going to sing.
I feel like she would have sang a Lisa Loeb song. Yeah.
What's that song they sang at the diner?
Don't
It's
remember
my
that
birthday,
one.
and I can cry if I want to. Okay, we're going off on a tangent. Sorry. Okay, so that was your first introduction, or that's what you remember?
Yeah, and that was my first CD ever.
This is the 90210
Yeah, it was the 90210 soundtrack.
Huge.
But I think by the time that I was consciously purchasing things, I think that my first compilation album was actually Big Shiny Tunes 2.
Yeah.
Because that was a big one. And I was like coming of age of having CDs and developing musical taste. And it was like very cool to have Big Shiny Tunes.
Big Shiny Tunes was Canadian, right?
Yeah, Much Music.
So it was like kind of like a staple to have.
It was such a staple. And I think Big Shiny Tunes was like, I think it sold 1 million copies. Like I think it's one of the most successful compilation albums in Canadian history, which is wild.
Wow.
But everybody had it, and it was kind of a social status symbol of sorts. And also for me, it was kind of like, made me look straighter to have it.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so,
but
like,
inside was a Sabrina.
but inside was like, no doubt, you know, like that's why I had it.
Is that what that meant to you though? Is like, because music is like such a form of like attachment, and especially when you're younger, the stuff that you listen to is like so formative. Do you feel like that formed your music taste?
100%, because like rock was so big at the time, and that's what Big Shiny Tunes represented. And I had no interest in rock music, but because I had 5 CDs to listen to, and Big Shiny Tunes was one of them, it was like, okay, now I'm into rock music. And I think that ultimately it did sort of shape my taste moving forward, because it got me into sort of like in a roundabout way, singer-songwriters and more sort of like artistic stuff than just the bubblegum pop that I would get into as I grew up.
Yeah, I was very into bubblegum pop. So like the MuchDances and the Nows were like truly staples for me. Like I remember I have a memory of sitting in my parents' basement, putting in a Now in like aging myself like 100 years, putting it in the CD player and sitting there looking at the track list and be like Jessica Simpson, like Angel or whatever the song was. And I was like, this is really beautiful.
Yeah.
But you said it was like a leapfrog into like more music with more artistry, for lack of a better phrasing. And I know you love Women in Songs. That was a big thing for you, right?
Yeah. Women in Songs was huge for me, but I was afraid to like own it as a kid because it was too gay.
Yeah.
Like it was a little bit too, because of course, Lilith Fair was coming up and blowing up, and you were in this era of music where women were suddenly front and center, and I was like eating that up. And I could like Alanis Morissette because it was sort of had a
like
rockier edge.
Yeah.
But when it came to more of the sort of like folk women, like Jewel, I was like, that's a little bit it's too sensitive. It's too emotional. And so I felt like I wasn't allowed to like that. So in a roundabout way, I found Women in Songs and kind of like kept it a secret. But that's what really shaped the rest of my life. I think Women in Songs changed my life.
Yeah, so then you're like kind of saying like music compilations was a way in was formative to the rest of your music taste.
Exactly, yeah. And what's great about them is that you have these albums like a later Big Shiny Tunes where it's like, okay, I'm getting this because I'm into the rock music, but hidden in there's like one Biff Naked song.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, yes, rock music, but it's opening you up to the world of like female singer-songwriters, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I think for you and me of a certain generation, obviously Gen Z, I think what's important is that compilation albums for us was like a bit of a guise, like a way into being able to like female artists without it being so obvious.
Yeah.
So you could have your mom or your parents buy you a Now or whatever if you were able to do that, and then you could put it in the car. And before the Britney song was a Blink song.
Yeah,
and
Matchbox 20.
Sure. And you could be like, wow, I'm loving every artist we're playing. And then when you made your mix CDs on your computer, it was mostly just like female skewing artists.
Yeah, you picked and chose. I remember thinking that specifically the Dance Mix, like Dance Mix 94, I think is one of those all-time compilation albums. And I remember coming across it because the other great thing about compilation albums is it was just a CD in a collection and it lasted much longer than the year. So I saw Dance Mix 94 around throughout the 90s, like into the early 2000s probably. And I always remember thinking that people who owned any of the dance mixes were so cultured and worldly because
like,
here
wow,
was this.
You own this.
Yeah, here's this whole CD of artists I've never heard of, songs that are never on the radio. Like Dance Mix 94 starts with that Enigma song that kind of went viral recently. And it's like, this feels cultured.
I mean, it's such a collection of music because it's so different. Because if you look at the track list, like, shall I?
Yeah, please do.
I'm going off script. If you look at the track list from this is the first Now. You have I Could Fall in Love Again, Selena, huge. You have, again, Janet Jackson, huge. You have Bombastic by Shaggy, huge. A lot of huge tracks.
But this is exactly what you're talking about, where you could say, oh, I'm getting this because I love Shaggy, but actually it's because I love Janet Jackson.
The idea of me at 10 liking Shaggy is like something else to unpack. And unfortunately, you're not my therapist. Do you think there's like a specific song that drops you in, like from that time, that is like such a eye-opening moment from one of those compilations that you were like, on Women in Songs, there was this song that kind of was Sean's song, or like opened the door for everything else?
Yeah, not necessarily my song, but what really opened my eyes
your song?
from what really opened my eyes from Women in Songs was Katie Lang, Constant Craving.
Of course.
Because Katie Lang was this figure that I had only ever heard of. And I think in my history textbook, there was a picture of her wearing the wedding dress at the Junos.
Okay.
But I had never really heard her music. There was no reason for me to hear her music.
Yeah.
And then on Women in Songs, they threw in these like oldies. That was so great, sort of paying homage to the original Women in Songs. And that is such an eye-opening track. Like, that is such a timeless song. Still, you could play it right now, and it is such a banger.
I have something very shameful to admit. I think I should get closer to the mic while I say it. No, I know who Katie Lang is. I only discovered Constant Craving on Glee.
Stop.
So it is a duet between
hate
Santana and Idina Menzel's character.
Okay.
And then Kurt Hummel comes in to sing like the last note.
This is actually news to me. I did not know.
Well, we're
that
breaking news today.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a really good cover. And I'm going to retract that story when we start editing this podcast because I don't think it needed to be shared.
I'm going to look it up immediately after.
Yeah, you should look it up.
I actually can't believe it was on Glee.
But my point in that embarrassing story I just shared is that those compilations, whether it be if you were younger and comparatively, if you're watching Glee and you were like 9 or whatever watching Glee, and this is how I was with American Idol, which like a lot of the songs they sang on Idol, I didn't always know. So like, for example, it's not on the compilation album, but Kelly Clarkson in season 1 sings Think Twice by Celine Dion, which I always thought was like, because I remember watching that season, I remember her singing that song, and I was obsessed with that song. And I was like, oh, this must be an old Celine song that I never knew of. It was, it's escaping me now, it's from the Celine album of that same year, or the year before.
Is it?
So Think Twice is like, from whatever album is around that time. And I was like, oh, the song, I didn't know that song. So it was brought to me. So a lot of these compilation albums, or now we're kind of getting outside of this, but like shows that included a lot of music were gateways for you to discover music.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Like I remember anyway, that was a segue.
Think Twice do you know Think Twice is one of Celine's biggest hits?
I love
but
that
only
song.
outside of North America.
I think that's an incredible song.
It's so good.
But nobody talks about it.
Nobody talks about it.
Everybody talks about It's All Coming Back to Me Now, the Titanic song the title's escaping me. Nobody talks about Think Twice.
Do you know what should have been covered on Glee? Think Twice.
As a duet between somebody. I'm going to think about it by the end of this.
The other great thing about compilation albums that was so eye-opening as I grew up and started to like really understand and dig into who was making this music was that there were so many Canadian artists buried in these albums, and they're sitting next to some of the biggest stars in the world. And for me, listening to them, I didn't know that, right? Like for me, Biff Naked was just as big as REM, right?
Yeah.
And so it gives you sort of this level playing field for Canadian artists where they're able to sort of like stand next to these giants and have a fair shot. And I feel like that's when we talk about discoverability, and it's like I discover Biff Naked through a compilation album. I think she's just as worthy of my time as anybody else.
And she is.
But that the consumer tells me is worth my time.
Well, I think that's what's important about these albums and music that's compiled this way is that there's no, like, yeah, they were hits, but also it was just like really good music and just like music of the time. So it didn't really matter where they were from. Obviously, it was more North American focused, but it was like, yeah, to me, growing up, Biff Naked was as big as with the American artist that she was beside, right? And I think, like, I don't know, it's the same as, like, how Lady Gaga broke in Canada first before she broke elsewhere. And before I knew well enough, I thought she was a Canadian artist. Because Just Dance is a Canadian song. That's a
I think there's a really good argument to be made for Just Dance being a Canadian song.
It's a Canadian song.
For sure. No, but such a great example of this is, I think it's on this now. If I could pick this up, because I owned this and I adored it. And yes, just as I thought, the Moffats. Okay, the Moffats are the most Canadian band, like the Canadian Hanson, right?
Yeah.
They are so.
Wait, wasn't
like,
Hanson Canadian?
No. They're famously from
Take that
Tulsa,
off.
Oklahoma.
Okay, got it. Understood.
They have a whole song about it.
Were they on Glee?
Probably.
Okay.
And the Moffats are sitting here next to Aaliyah, 98 Degrees, Sheryl Crow, Sugar Ray, U2. And I was like, the Moffats are an internationally renowned band.
But that's how it informed your music taste, for there was no, like, not to get preachy, but like no judgment.
There's no
you were
judgment.
like, I'll listen to whatever if it's all put in front of me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, while we're talking about compilation albums, I would be remiss if we did not talk about movie soundtracks, which are arguably just as important and one of our great collections of music.
They're the compilation albums that have survived.
That's so true. It is just so true, Bestie. Were movie soundtracks a big part of your, like, it also informing your music taste?
Movie soundtracks, not so much. I'll tell you which soundtrack was, and it's that one right there, as we discussed, the Sabrina the Teenage Witch soundtrack, which, like, that was one of my heaviest rotation albums. as a kid because one, you had Melissa Joan Hart singing on it.
I was just going to bring that up. And who allowed that? I don't know. But it's like so crazy.
I think we should be doing more of that.
She was the original karaoke. She was doing covers on her own TV show.
She was. And then that soundtrack is so good because it has a Spice Girls B-side, which I couldn't get anywhere else. Like my local store didn't have CD singles, so I couldn't find a B-side. So that was the only way that I could have Walk of Life by the Spice Girls was on the Sabrina the Teenage Witch soundtrack. So that kind of soundtrack I loved. And then the other one was, of course, the Titanic soundtrack. But here's the reason I'm not as much of a soundtrack person is because I feel like when I put on an album, still to this day, like I'm so antiquated where I am an album person where I have to listen to from track 1 to the very end. And when that happens and it's and it's a movie, it's like I have to relive the whole movie. I'm like, I might as well just watch the movie. But I would do that. Where that came in handy was the Titanic soundtrack because...
What's on the Titanic soundtrack besides
nothing?
the song?
It's James Horner's score.
Which is a gorgeous score,
which is just the same song over and over and over.
It is gorgeous.
With different instruments. And so I would just put that on and relive the movie. But I find it like a little bit of a commitment to throw on a movie soundtrack. How about you?
I mean, that was a lot to unpack because I've never felt committed to a movie soundtrack. So like I hear you and I see you.
Yeah, no, this is something for me to unpack in therapy.
Totally. We can talk about it later. I hear you and I see you. I think the movie soundtrack is interesting because we're in a time now where it still exists, but it doesn't exist in the exact same way that it did, for example, in the 90s, late 80s, early 2000s. Like, I'm going to look to camera when I say this. I have Practical Magic on a physical CD, the soundtrack to it, and it's one of our great soundtracks of all time. And if the sequel doesn't do it justice, I'm going to find Nicole's original wig and I'm going to put it on my head. I don't know what they're going to do, but that original soundtrack is so good. I mean, when speaking about Practical Magic, I think there are a few songs we have to include. I think one of the biggest inclusions to Gay Guy Music Video Night is the scene of Sandra Bullock running in semi-slow-mo to Faith Hill's This Kiss pop remix.
Yeah.
I have to make it clear it is pop remix. There is a very different version of that song that exists. And I think that is really how you do song over scene.
Yeah.
Which has a proper term, but I'm calling it song over scene as a former track lister. I think that's really important. Also, that soundtrack includes Stevie Nicks' Crystal and also Stevie Nicks Something Else.
I love Something Else.
Oh, huge track.
But this is my question is like, how do you live up to the first soundtrack? Because I feel like soundtracks
you get Stevie Nicks.
Okay.
And you put her in the studio.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point that you were going to make, which is like, how do you match that? I don't know. Because also the music for the first Practical Magic is completely different, right? So if you're going to do a sequel, what does that look like? Are we going to use the same artist all over again? I don't know. But it is, I don't know. I think they should.
But I feel like the only time now that soundtracks make any kind of a splash are when they are sort of like conceptual, like the Charlie XCX Wuthering Heights, the Beyonce Lion King. Like it has to be sort of like a whole concept. So should we get Stevie Nicks in the studio to do a concept album for Practical Magic 2? Is that the pitch?
Literally. But I don't know why. Call me.
Call her up.
Sandra, call me. Like, I think that's actually a great point because that is kind of the evolution. I mean, I think it has existed prior to right now, but to your point, Beyonce, The Lion King, Charlie, The Moment, there are many other examples. I think, like, it's not, I mean, it is a soundtrack, but like getting, who did the Tron Legacy soundtrack?
Oh, yeah.
Is it Trent Reznor? No, that's for Gone Girl. But I mean, you're getting like musicians to do like specific scores for certain things outside of like actual composers, and obviously they are also composers. I've insulted like a whole industry of artists. I'm so sorry. And also, I have on my notes here The Bodyguard, which is off the top of my head, and I don't have numbers here, the highest selling soundtrack of all time.
I think it might be one of the highest selling albums.
I could grab my phone and Google it.
I'm positive.
I've been told not to.
I believe you.
I believe me as well. I said it was conviction. The Clueless soundtrack, which is also huge.
Okay, but this is my question. What's on the Clueless soundtrack?
It's a great question. I just
What
said it
would I
was
know?
huge, and I don't know. I know there's the opening song, which is the song that played, like A Perfect Day.
The one that starts the movie.
So when you start a
Famously.
movie, there's usually a song at the
Yeah.
beginning. And then there's the Space Jam soundtrack.
Yeah, Space Jam was big. Do you know what Space Jam reminds me of? Do you remember the compilation series Jock Jams? Did you ever come across Jock
No.
Jams? Okay, Jock
But my
Jams people.
ears are perked up.
Jock Jams people were built different. Like they.
What's Jock Jams?
Jock Jams.
Like for straight guys?
No.
Oh.
No, it's not. Yeah. So
Gay guys?
perk the ears down. Yeah, it's for gay guys.
And straight guys.
It's cheerleading music.
Wait, are you being for real?
I swear to God. And there were sort of like the like female athletes in my elementary school would bring Jock Jams to like track day to get everybody pumped up. And it's literally songs like Pump Up the Jam. Like it's
It's a tough
stuff
song.
like that. And Jock Jams, but sorry, Space Jam was all over Jock Jams. I think it was on multiple Jock Jams.
So you're saying Space Jam was on Jock Jam?
Yeah, the Space Jam song.
A big jam was happening.
It's jam.
Everybody was jamming out.
Jam on jam on jam. So, do you remember sort of falling out of love with compilation albums? Like, when did you just one day you woke up and you bought your last compilation album and you didn't know it was your last compilation album?
Oh, I'm really outing myself here. I used to work at HMV.
Oh.
So we're really getting into the Canadian, also UK core of it all. But I would buy a lot of soundtracks and a lot of CDs while I was there. And I think, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think one of the last things I got was a free copy of the Glee Rocky Horror soundtrack. I swear to God, I have really good music taste, but it's really good. So to answer your question, right now is when I'm falling out of love with soundtracks. No, I don't think I have an exact moment with it. I think like for you and I can maybe speak to this, that of our generation again, like it was kind of pivotal. Like in our teens and our late teens to early 20s, like going to the movies, and movies were such a huge thing, and soundtracks were so big because music was made and it was so, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like so much bigger than it is now, or so much different than it is now, right? Like you couldn't escape My Heart Will Go On when Titanic came out. But now we don't really have like those songs that are written for original movies don't really have the same impact. And then not to speak out of turn, but it looks a lot different now. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally. And I remember getting burned with a compilation album one time. I've sort of like come back around to them famously. Like I've gone back to all the Women in Songs and sort of like they are now my playlist.
Yeah.
But there was a time I got burned because I don't know if you remember this genre of CD, but there was sort of like the nows that were on display, and then there was other ones that were half the price, and they had 40 songs on them, and they were all
It's
bangers.
like half the price of now.
Yeah,
What were
and
they
then
called?
you buy it, and it's different artists singing the songs. It's like knockoff versions of the songs. And I bought one of those with my hard-earned money, and I was so burned by it that I was like, I'm done. I can't trust anything.
What were they
anymore.
called? Like Not Now? What was it
No,
called?
it was called the hits. Like it
Music.
was something. Yeah, just music. Just music. And I had like somebody else singing Strong Enough by Cher. And I was like, this isn't what I purchased this for. And that was right around the time that like Napster and LimeWire were coming up. And I was already making my own mixtapes. I would always go buy a pack of 4 blank Maxwell tapes and
Of course,
and get to
God.
work. Like I was
You just brought me back.
clocking in 9 to 5 on a Saturday making mixtapes.
The way you would go to Staples or wherever to buy like whatever
Yeah.
pack of blank CDs.
Yeah, I was keeping the byway in Petawawa open single-handedly.
We were literally like tech engineers.
Yeah.
Like people always say this now on TikTok of like, I was coding websites at like 13. I was literally sitting on my computer being like, okay, Overprotected Britney Spears Dark Child remix, number
Yeah.
1. Number 2 is like,
And if you got really fancy, you could like fade them together. Like they were confessions on a dance floor. But,
we were producing Renaissance before it came
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
but I got really into the Napster world totally legally. And I remember starting to make my own. And I was like, I'm actually so good at this.
Should I go into music production?
I should go into like track listing.
Sure.
Because I'm putting.
Is that a career?
Probably. It should be.
Now
it was at one time. Because I'm putting, Say My Name next to The Call by Backstreet Boys.
Huge.
And this is banger after banger after banger. And so that really just took over everything. And then you got into the MP3 players and then the iPods and
The Call by the Backstreet Boys. Sorry, you really.
So good. What a story. What a
like the story in the song.
Yeah.
No, literally, he's cheating on his girlfriend, and she keeps calling. He doesn't want to answer the phone.
Yeah, because he's got a little place nearby.
And he's got to go. I keep saying huge track, but like truly, I mean that.
We don't have storytellers like that.
No, we used to
It was
tell,
like Bob Dylan.
That was
the
Men and
Backstreet
Songs.
Boys.
Okay?
That was Men and Songs.
They were telling stories with that song. I don't know particularly, like, really if like the internet was the downfall for this, because again, not to speak out of turn, compilations and soundtracks and all this stuff still fully exists. I think with the loss of physical media, especially the loss of CDs, is when that kind of took more of a hit, because you can look at the sales for like now or any of these things. I was doing some research before we started filming today where I looked at the American Idol Season 1 compilation, and it sold in its first week 130 or 40,000 copies. It was certified gold, and it ended up selling over 600,000 copies, which is solid. For a first season of a show, which famously American Idol wasn't huge until season 2, and it went gold, and it sold over 100,000 copies in week 1. Why?
Because Nicki McKibben was on it. That's why.
May she rest. But yes. But it was like, it was important, but also that was like, we were all watching the show. It was so big. Kelly had won. This is turning into a Kelly Clarkson podcast, which has been my goal from the beginning to do this. And then you wanted that music. And now when the internet had kind of became our lives, you didn't need that anymore, right?
Yeah, and this is like my beef. And I don't want to sound like a crotchety old man, but this is the problem with the internet.
All right, well, here we go.
The problem with the internet is playlists, and it's really algorithmic playlists, because I want so badly to be told what's good. Like, I don't want to do the work. I know I was putting in the work myself when I was making my mixtapes, but I don't want to do that work now. As a former
track listing.
Yeah, I'm retired. I am retired, so I want somebody else to tell me. And the problem is I find that the algorithmic playlist just feeds you so much of the same, where it's like, we don't have the equivalent of slipping Biff naked into Big Shiny Tunes. No. You know what I mean? And that's what I miss. Like, I think that that's really sad. And when it comes to the Canadian artist, it's like my favorite artist outside of Alanis Morissette is Sarah Slean, who is like a very small Canadian artist who had a song put on Women in Songs 2, the best Women in Songs. And it's like, without that, would I have ever found her?
No, 100%.
Probably not. No. And I feel like that's what I just never get from playlists.
Well, it's also because you were forced to listen to what you bought. So I feel like also when we grew up, specifically our generation, which was like, I remember this a lot. My mom was a huge CD buyer when I was like too young to go buy my own CDs. So we would have the CDs, but I remember we would only really listen to like the radio tracks or like the singles. And I would be like, oh, you know that like phrasing of like, well, you bought the album for the singles, but the rest of the album isn't good. That's never made sense to me, because like, yes, there are bad albums, but like most albums are like pretty good.
They're mostly listenable. It's like a great example of this is Natalie Imbruglia's first album, which I think a lot of people consider a one-hit wonder with Torn. And I think people are like, oh, I bought the album and disappointed by it. But it's like, no, that album is incredible and deserved album of the year.
Well, it's also because she got trapped by the industry as a whole to be cornered as a one-hit wonder. But to people who actually took the time to listen to the album, you're like, wait, no, once you got past that song, there's so many other songs that are great. I mean, to your point about the Natalie Imbruglia of it all and Torn, I think that's also like the detriment maybe a little bit to soundtracks, is that you took that one song and you put it everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of movies or soundtracks that have that one song or the same song everywhere, which I think sometimes is like, bringing this to like a bit of like we've heard it.
Yeah.
I've heard the song.
And I think that's what pigeonholes somebody like her into that specific sound, which her album isn't exactly that sound. Like it's a little bit harder. And so the omnipresence of it, I think, is to her detriment.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can pin it down to the internet, and that's really to blame.
That's
for a lot
really
of
where
things.
all of our problems come from.
That's where the problems started, and that's where they're going to be for a long time.
But keep streaming this.
I don't think. Okay, The Devil Wears Prada does have a soundtrack. I would presume. I never had it physically, but I personally never had it physically, so to me, it doesn't exist. But to me, that
I think
movie
I did actually.
Probably that movie exists. I mean, sorry. The Devil Wears Prada's soundtrack is great because it's an example of taking like a lot of really popular songs, especially at that time, like Suddenly I See, and making it so cinematic. So like the moments in that movie that are so what's the word, like highlighted through music are so important to me. So like the Suddenly I See opening montage, her walking across the street to Vogue, and then the other scene that uses Jump by Madonna as well, I think are like a back-to-back music moment that makes me feel like Nicole Kidman in the AMC ad with like the light behind my head, and I'm like, this is why we come to the movie. Yeah. It's like, that is such a great use of music. Do you find that?
Do you know what I go for every time this comes up? I don't even think it's a montage scene because usually these songs hit during a montage scene. I don't even think it's a montage. I think there is a montage. It's She's All That and she's getting the makeover where it's like they just take off her glasses and brush her hair.
Yeah.
And it's after the montage that they play Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer.
Huge.
Oh my God. Like that is one of those moments that I can't hear that song without thinking
literally
about She's All That.
Yeah. It's so important, but also like music takes you back. It also takes you to a time and place. I have recently been listening to the soundtrack to Chess, the musical, which is currently on Broadway. Everything goes back to Glee for me, apparently. And I saw it in New York in October, and every time I listen to the soundtrack now, it feels like October in my ears. And that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I also think about the re-recorded Joni Mitchell Both Sides Now from Love Actually when she plays it and cries. Like I'm playing it and crying. I become her in that moment.
This is turning into gay guy music video.
Yeah, it really is.
Where we just like play things back and forth, and it's like, no, but I love this because
let's do it.
I would love nothing more. Okay, sorry. I have a penchant for you and women in songs.
Yeah.
Do you think it changed how we understood women in music?
I think the whole moment did. I don't know if I think the compilation album sort of like represents that moment in music. And what I love so much about it is that there were so many women coming up, sort of like, I mean, like several had laid the groundwork, like your Tori Amos's and your Liz Phair's. And then Alanis Morissette really like breaks open the floodgates in 95, and then 96, 97, 98, 99. Like that is the stretch of years that belong to women in music. And I feel like what Women in Songs does is, one, capitalize on it, very smart, to say like, let's package up all these songs that used to not be able to be played on the radio one after another because you had to break them up with a man. Let's put all of these on an album and sell it to people and make a ton of money. Genius, yes, but also I think important. Important. Yeah.
Dorinda Medley. No, I agree. And then I think that leads to my next question, which is like, when you think of women in songs, I think the next association is Lilith Fair.
Yeah.
They kind of go hand in hand.
They're totally hand in hand. Like exactly what I said with not being able to play two songs by women back to back on the radio. Like that was a real thing. Like they didn't do that.
No, it was a real thing.
And
well, sorry, not to interrupt, but that's the point of like, because I watched the Sarah McLachlan.
Exactly. The documentary.
Lilith Fair documentary, which is / Lilith Flair / Sarah McLachlan documentary, which I love Sarah. So it's interesting because her whole point of doing that festival was that she was told by so many executives being like, you can't sell a tour with more than one woman on the tour.
You
and she was
can't,
like, watch me.
You can't have two women on the same lineup for a festival, and you can't have a woman headline a festival.
Crazy.
And so she said, watch me. And she did. And same deal. So like I see them, they're sort of like mirrors of one another. I think that Sarah McLachlan came from a place of really like making a point and standing up for something. And I think Women in Songs capitalized on it, like from a sort of like consumerism perspective. And I think that both achieved exactly what they needed to achieve. And I'm so happy they did.
I mean, this leads me to my next question. If you could do Women in Songs now, I'm interviewing you about Women in Songs.
Yeah.
If you could do it now, who would be on there? Obviously, it's, Tate McRae and Desire Larson.
As a man, I do feel uniquely qualified to talk about this, but I think that
I think Women in Songs was for women and gays.
And gays, I know. But I do.
There's your album.
This is the thing that people don't know about Women in Songs. Like, this is sick. This is sick that I'm like deep in Women in Songs. I did once have an entire podcast about Women in Songs. I've tried to scrub it from the internet, but I think it's still out there.
I have it personally.
But anyways, they went to like 2010, I think, releasing. And so on the last Women in Songs is like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga. So I do think they lost their way in terms of like the vision, the musicality of it, because then they just started putting, it became...
Wait, which Katy, though?
Which, you know what, like...
So like one of the boys, Katy?
I think it's like I Kissed a Girl.
Okay, there's music, I mean,
which,
like,
hey...
incredible song.
That's a little Women in Songs.
It actually is.
It actually
exactly
is so Women in Songs. Like, come to think of it. But I'm a little bit like, which came first, the chicken or the egg, which is the complete wrong analogy for what I'm saying. But basically, like the Women in Songs, the original Women in Songs right here was the women that were in the charts. And then by 2010, it was still the women that were in the charts. So what's the difference? The difference to me is the genre of music.
Yeah. Well, that's so
because I think you associate this with a genre of music, and I think they lost their way. But if I were to do one now, which, by the way, do you know that they're you do know this? Do you know they're still releasing MuchDance?
I do know this.
You
want to know?
wild.
I know this because you told me.
Because I told you today. Because I just found out. But so I think there's a market. I think we could do it. I think we could pull together Women in Songs. Who would go on it would probably be like a Clairo, a Phoebe Bridgers.
Of course.
Who else is out there?
I would still just put on Jan Arden and Sarah McLachlan.
Like, I would love to. I would love to. Jan Arden released a
Sarah McLachlan just released a new CD too.
So does Sarah McLachlan.
Sorry, I wanted to put another point to Sarah McLachlan because I have a lot to say about her.
Say it.
She has so many moments that are tied. Music moments that are tied to movies. So her song from Toy Story 2, when she... okay, I don't know why you're laughing. It's the saddest song of all time. When She Loved Me, about Jessie being left.
Okay.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Her song in Buffy, Full of Grace, one of a beautiful use of music. There is a longer list. I'm currently going blank because the studio lights are scaring me. But Sarah is tied to like... cinematic moments or TV moments.
I feel like Angel was in
oh my God.
so many movies.
Yeah. And then, the ASPCA song, but that's like a different thing.
As much as I love Women in Songs, I feel like you're a MuchDance. I feel like you're a MuchDance girl.
Yeah, I was.
Tell me about what MuchDance, how it impacted your life.
It was like, for me, it was like, I was more a MuchDance person than a Now person. To speak about MuchDance is to speak about much music and much more music, where I find a lot of my music education came from. And not to age myself, because obviously I'm 21, but...
It's too late for that. Have you heard the conversation?
Of aging myself?
No, the whole conversation.
Oh, today, yeah. I mean,
geriatric.
I think my hairline does it. But like, the issue is like, we had such education growing up with like much music and much more music, where you learned everything from like... We didn't have a pop-up video, but we had like the Much pop-up video thing, where I would just literally sit in front of the TV. My parents are great. I would sit in front of the TV and just like poltergeist style, just like absorb the rays, but it was educational.
I used to tape Video Flow for 6 hours and then go home and watch it and then convert it to my tapes.
You would come home from school, and I remember watching Much on Demand, Much Live. There's this clip that always goes around TikTok of Beyonce with Destiny's Child at Much, and she gives the mic to somebody to sing in the audience, and they're off key, and she takes it back. She goes, "Whoa!" And then she's like laughing for like 8 seconds, going back to performing. But the point of that was that like, because we lived at such a different time, music was so important, and also we were all doing the same at the same time, same thing at the same time. I am missing the word of what that is, but like, culture was just like,
it was a monolith.
oh, thank you.
You're
It's
welcome.
not as separate as it is now. So like, especially for Canadian people, coming home and watching Much was like so informative.
Yeah.
So then MuchDance bled into that because it was like, well, that music informs, the TV informs my music taste. I need to have the companion to that as well.
MuchDance was like the soundtrack to
my life.
watching
Exactly.
Much music.
Yeah, it was. And I think like, especially for Canadian people, like that stuff was so important, and we don't have a lot of that anymore. So it's a little hard to like reconcile.
Yeah. Do you know what I love about MuchDance? The graphic design.
Stunning.
Like iconic.
We're not doing graphic design work like we were before.
Nobody is.
And for the compilation albums, like this, we're not doing this graphic design
We're not
anymore.
doing that.
And I
We're
mean
not
that
doing,
with
like,
all due.
No, and we're not doing Women in Songs. Women in Songs, every single cover, like I have my list of my favorite Women in Songs albums and then my list of favorite album covers. And
Is that one?
it's up there, yeah.
I gotta be
it's
honest,
top 3.
that Women in Songs cover looks like someone, like you made it. Like it's fan made.
If you think they get better, they don't.
No, I just downhill from there.
But that's the point, right? The Nows look great. The MuchDance, nothing touches MuchDance. The Big Shiny Tunes 2 cover is iconic, like Canadian media.
Sorry, we have been sitting here talking about soundtracks for 14 hours. The You've Got Mail soundtrack is absolutely incredible, and I would be remiss if I didn't include it. Mostly because the use of the Cranberries song when Meg Ryan is walking out of her apartment in New York during the fall segment of that movie, I'm gonna like, this is my soapbox. I'm gonna start crying. It's so well done. And that's really all I have to say on that.
Yeah. We talked about the algorithmic playlists that we're stuck with today.
Oh, boy.
But do you make your own playlists? Like, how are we keeping the compilation album alive in 2026?
Sean, that is like really such a good question.
Thank you.
I do make my own playlists. They are horrendous. Every year I make a birthday playlist for my party, and it's just the same songs from the year before with like 10 more songs from that year added on. And I look at it and I'm like, wow, I used to be really, really good at making my mixtape, my mix CDs for the car. And I think it's like, and actually making a playlist is such an art form.
It's an art form, but also I think we're hindered by the abundance of choice that we have.
I feel like my mom sometimes when I look at my phone, because I'm like, or like Sarah Jessica Parker in Sex and the City, like, I don't know how to work this. Somebody give me like a proper phone. I'm like, putting it together a playlist for like my friends coming over on a Friday night, like actually sends a chill down my spine.
It stresses me out so much.
A YouTube playlist? Got it.
Yeah, easy.
Music playlist? No.
No, same. I have this playlist on my phone called October 2016.
And it's never been updated.
I still go to it. Like I played it on the weekend because if I'm like, especially if people are over, because you feel so self-conscious about, oh, this is my music's choice. And like, I hope you guys like it. Like it's so embarrassing.
I don't feel self-conscious because I think I have really good taste in music. I'm not playing like Rocky Horror Glee when people come over.
Right.
Although if people had respect, I would. But I think like, there's nothing, I would never go to someone's house and be like, what the fuck is playing right now? Like, that's crazy.
I would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not coming over.
Sure.
I'm not coming over. Well, you're not invited over, actually.
But yeah, I feel like making a playlist is a lot of work. And so then I'm stuck in this cycle where I rely on the algorithmic playlist. And then sometimes I think like I'll put on Apple Music and it'll be like, party time.
Well,
and I'm like, oh, this is actually the worst music.
I don't like the Apple playlists or Spotify because I don't want anybody in the comments yelling about Apple Music or Spotify. I'm not in the mood from when I record this to when this is posted. But also, like, where the hell was I going with that? I just forgot.
You hate the playlist.
I hate the playlists.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that.
Yeah. I had some luck with the Discovery playlists. Like,
Sure.
But
what am I discovering?
I know.
We're in the discovery phase, and I don't like that. My most used playlist on, like, Apple Music is recently played. So it's just a regurgitation of the same shit I listen to all the time. You know, we're coming to the end of our old man TED Talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But what is like one compilation that you would recommend to like someone listening to this who are like, wow, after Sean has talked about women in songs for 37 minutes, I think I gotta listen to it. Which one would I start with?
Yeah, well, like, of course I'm gonna say women in songs too. Duh. Like, everybody knows that.
This is actually titled Women in Songs too.
But just because I've gone on and on and on about women in songs, and like, I'm like, it probably sounds ridiculous. I'm gonna go and give like a left field recommendation, which I brought up earlier, which is Dance Mix 94.
Okay.
Dance Mix 94 is so good.
And who's on it?
Robin S. Show
This
Me
is the
Love.
one with the Muffets?
Salt and Pepper Shoop.
Okay.
It's this is the one that starts with Enigma.
Huge.
It's so good. I actually went running to it the other day, and I was like, oh my God, like we need to bring this back.
In your ears while you're running, it's 1994 outside.
Yeah.
Whatever year
I
that
was
was.
like, if I could run with my eyes closed and just like,
Well, you would fall over.
is there, you're a soundtrack person.
I
Is there a
am.
soundtrack that you would recommend to anybody?
The
Me particularly.
Oh, to you?
Wow, I want the recommendation.
Oh my God. That's just so cuckoo crazy. I think, I mean, I'm going to go off script and it's not really going to be like soundtracks. I mean, again, what is a soundtrack? I would say the Little Women score 2019.
Oh my God, so good.
Little Women 2019 is an incredible
Yeah,
soundtrack.
it
And do you want to talk
is.
about music that takes you back?
Yeah.
That makes me feel like it's Christmas Day every day.
Yeah.
And do I listen to it every day? No. But when I do, it makes me feel like it's Christmas. It is a beautifully put together soundtrack. The Gone Girl score, I think, is incredible if you're in the mood for like, if you're in a certain type of mood. And then I'm going to suggest the Rocky Horror Glee. Listen to that
Yeah,
on the
that's
way home.
good. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. And
It is startling.
We'll see if I come back. But this just made me think of something, which is that they almost brought back
Women
the
in Songs.
legendary soundtrack compilation album. Because do you remember when Lorde curated the Hunger Games soundtrack?
You know what's a
That's
good
like a compilation
soundtrack?
album.
That's there it
That's
is.
good.
Wow, it took us
Oh my
an
God.
hour.
We need to re-record this whole thing.
Yeah, scratch everything. We're starting with Lord's Hunger Games soundtrack because that soundtrack has the Ariana song with Major Lazer. It has
It's got Haim.
it has Haim with a rapper I can't remember. It has Lorde.
I think there's a lot of Kanye West on that one.
I don't know. I don't get.
I'm
into
not
all
touching that,
I'm not
but-
touching that. I don't want to see that. Sean, this has been great.
It's been so fun.
It's been so fun.
I can't wait to listen to the Rocky Horror Glee.
And I can't wait to hear you saying Women in Songs when I fall asleep tonight. Just gonna be Women in Songs, Women in
Just
Songs.
on a loop.
And that's it.
All right, that's it. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Like, what's with the air here?
She is a Canadian artist.
good. That's good.
Don't post that on TikTok. They're gonna yell at me.
Do we need a little pause? We need a little pause after.
Yeah, well, I turned to Kyle and I was like, do you like that?
Yeah, that was great.
Okay. Amazing.
Should we get a little picture on the set?